What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports.
Yo.
So a rumor is circulating that Khamzat Chimaev has got his next fight lined up, and it's going to be against Jared Cannonier.
Wow.
Now, the date is to be determined, but a lot of people are talking about that UFC 294 card in Abu Dhabi. I would think, even though this would be the co-main event likely if they put it on that card, they are definitely going to make this a 5-round fight. And if this is Khamzat's introduction to 185, man, this is not an easy fight.
Yeah, this is insane. And you have to remember, Jared Cannonier used to fight at heavyweight. When you watch his highlight tape, it almost looks like you're watching highlights of multiple people.
Right.
Because his hair was different. His body was totally different. I think he has found his real home at 185. But make no mistake about it, just like Volkanovski carries a lot of power from being his 200-plus days, Cannonier carries that heavyweight power down to 185, and more than the striking power, he carries that strength.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody at 185 that can manhandle Jared Cannonier. And even though Chimaev is very strong and very powerful, I don't see him overpowering Cannonier like he has done some of his former opponents.
Yeah, I don't think so. And one of the big complaints about Chimaev at 170 was that he's a weight bully. He's just bigger and stronger, and so he can kind of impose his will. Well, this would be the total inverse of that. Chimaev would be far weaker than Jared Cannonier, far smaller than Jared Cannonier, so he would have to rely on his technical ability to defeat him. I think Cannonier hits harder. I think Cannonier, certainly it's proven that he has more 5-round experience. He just had a record-setting night against Marvin Vettori. This is a great fight. Obviously, if they're going to move Chimaev into a fight with Cannonier right away, that's a title eliminator fight for either man, I think. If
Right.
Cannonier can get past Chimaev and he just had that impressive win against Vettori, they would likely put his name back in the conversation for a title at 185. On the flip side, if Chimaev can get past Jared Cannonier, who's just an absolute formidable force at middleweight, they're going to go ahead and move Chimaev into that title spot. I think it's a super close fight. I really don't know who would win this fight. I think Jared Cannonier might be among the toughest fights for Chimaev at 185. I think Robert Whitaker would be tough too, but for different reasons. But Jared Cannonier, while he's not known for his wrestling like Chimaev is, he doesn't come from that same kind of pedigree. He does have really good takedown defense. As we said, he is extremely strong. He's very good with the striking and keeping you at range because he can make you really think twice about shooting when he hits you with something that really has some stank on it. So I think that Jared Cannonier is a tough introduction to 185.
Yeah, and Jared Cannonier's striking is looking better now than it has ever looked in his entire career. He's always been good and heavy-handed, but now he's obviously making history like he did against Marvin Vettori. He's landing all kinds of shots, and you have to remember when Khamzat fought Gilbert Burns, he was getting touched, and it seemed like some of those shots were affecting him. I think he got dropped maybe twice in that fight.
Yeah, second
At
round.
least sat down on his knee. If you get hit by those same shots that Gilbert was landing by Jared Cannonier, you might not be up to talk about it afterwards.
Right, sure.
So I think Jared Cannonier has a serious advantage when it comes to the striking, which would lead Khamzat to want to take this fight to the ground as quickly as possible and try to zap his energy or just submit him early to try to get him out of there. Because I agree with you. I think Jared Cannonier might be the most difficult matchup stylistically for Khamzat Chimaev at 185. And if he's able to get through that storm, he might be able to walk his way right into a title and then have some good defenses. But Jared Cannonier is no one to play with.
Yeah, and I think Jared would take this fight because, Jared came up very short against Israel Adesanya in his title fight that he had. And so when you have a performance like that in a title fight, it's really hard to climb your way back up to a title fight, especially when it's the same champion that really kind of dealt with you the first time around.
Right.
So he has a lot of momentum right now after what he did to Marvin Vettori, landing the most significant strikes ever in the history of the division. And now with an opportunity to take on the next big star in Khamzat Chimaev and do sort of what would be a quick turnaround if they made this fight for October, those are the kind of things you need to do if you want to kind of paint yourself with a different coat of paint and give yourself another look at the division, especially given the fact that the champ that beat you before is still the champ now. So I think that Jared Cannonier would be very inclined to take this fight. I think it would be a big night in the office for them. It would be a big money fight. It would likely be on that pay-per-view that Islam Makhachev is going to headline more than likely. So I think that the fight could materialize. I like the fight a lot. I think it's a winnable fight for both men. I think they have to do very different things in order to win the fight, but I can't wait to see if it gets announced.
Me either. And this fight sticks out as one of those ones that I didn't know I wanted to see so bad until they announced it. Now I'm like, of course, Jared Cannonier would be the best person for him to come into 185 and compete against. And I think if Khamzat's able to go up there and make quick work of Cannonier, you're talking about an epic fight at 185. And same thing can be said for Cannonier. I agree with you, where if he's able to go in there and beat Khamzat Chimaev, his stock is going to go through the roof, and then people will almost forget about his first fight with Izzy, and they'll want to see him compete for a rematch against Izzy.
No doubt.